What is going on, everybody? Seth here, back with another video. Today we are doing a 3-round NFL mock draft. This first episode will be the entire first round, and then the next episode, which should be coming out tomorrow, will be the day 2 rounds, round 2, round 3. Um, this will be with trades, so it will be interesting to see what trades I make and how that affects the rest of the mock draft. But let's get right into it. Um, First things first. I mean, this thing seems like a lock at this point. Cam Ward to the Titans. Every single move that they've made in the offseason indicates that they are going quarterback. I've already kind of said my T with this. I'm not sure if I would go Cam Ward number 1 overall, but he has a lot of upside. He is easily the best quarterback in this class, so I can understand it. And yeah, they signed Kevin Zeitler to the 1-year deal. That's indication that that's going to happen, because if you look at it, not just from the Titans' perspective, but Zeitler's perspective, why would a veteran offensive lineman sign a 1-year deal with a team that's going to tank? I mean, they've had to have discussions with them saying they're going to take quarterback. Dan Moore, that overpay of a contract, but that's showing you that they are solidifying the offensive line. No veteran quarterbacks brought in, so Cam Ward seems like a lock at this point. Browns is number 2 overall. Um, I thought about switching it up and taking Travis Hunter, which would be a great pick as well. Greg Newsome, I think, only has 1 year left on his contract. Denzel Ward is obviously great, but you want to establish that entire cornerback room. But I think you have to go Abdul Carter. He is the best player on my board. As you can see, my board has changed a little bit. Not too much, but Emeka Ibuka moved to my wide receiver 1 spot. That's one of the noticeable changes. And there's a few other changes as we get down a little bit lower on the board. But and I'll explain those changes as we go through the draft. My next video, I think, is going to be my top 20 receivers, maybe top 30. We'll see how much scouting I get through, or top 10 quarterbacks. I think I should probably do the quarterback video first, just because it is a lot more important. I mean, not really, because this quarterback class sucks, but quarterbacks are quarterbacks, right? They're going to be the most talked about position. But I do love this receiver class. I want to get a running back video out, along with an edge and safety video. I love the safety class. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to it. So it's probably going to be either receiver or quarterback first, maybe running back, just because I love the class so much. But yeah, I'm going to go Abdul Carter here. As good as Travis Hunter is, you got to go Abdul Carter and solidify that edge rushing duo of Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter. Now, Abdul Carter, he might not be a full-time player just because I see him as purely a pass rusher. He's not very good in the run defense. But once you have him and Myles Garrett rushing the passer together, I mean, that's a nightmare scenario for quarterbacks. So, yeah, I feel like number 2 overall, Abdul Carter is going to be the best selection. Now, Giants, that leaves a clear selection for them, too. I do not think they're going Shedeur Sanders. If you look at how they approached the offseason, they were really, really, really desperate to get some veteran quarterbacks in. They pushed hard for Matt Stafford, and it looked like that was going to happen, or the report was they had a deal that was agreeable to. They're going to offer Matt Stafford a extension, a very lucrative extension. But if I remember the report correctly, Matthew Stafford turned it down and decided to stay with the Rams. So they went all in for Stafford. That didn't work. They went in for Aaron Rodgers. And he just took too long to make his decision. And then they went out and signed Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson to 1-year deals. Now, there was a report that said, about a week ago, that said those are not going to make the Giants shy away from taking quarterback. That might be true. They might go Shedeur Sanders, but I don't think there's a team that wants to take him this high. I don't think he's worth this high of a pick at all. And just with how panicky the Giants were to get a quarterback, and they just got stuck with Russ and Jameis. But with how panicky they were to get a quarterback, makes me think they do not like Shedeur Sanders. So I think Travis Hunter will be the pick here. It's pretty clear to me. Best player available at this point when it comes to healthy players. So it's a pretty easy pick for the Giants here. Patriots number 4 overall. I think it comes down to 2 players at this point right now. Now, this is the hardest pick. I wouldn't say it comes down to 2 players because this is the hardest pick in the draft. You could still go with T-Mac. I wouldn't. You still could go with Mason Graham. Well, actually, no, you couldn't. I hate the Milton Williams signing now that I've thought about it. You overpaid for Milton Williams when you could have just selected Mason Graham number 4 overall, and then you could have went all out for Ronnie Staley or something like that. Makes no sense to me. When you could have you're gonna get Mason Graham, who's probably gonna turn out into just as good or better of a player than Milton Williams. At number 4 overall, like that would have been a lock that he's gonna fall to number 4 for you. Said you paid Milton Williams $26 a year, and yeah, I don't get that at all. And now you have 2 defensive tackles who are more so pass rushing defensive tackles. Very interesting. I don't know how it's going to work out. Milton Williams is a great player, but I don't agree with that signing. So Mason Graham out of the picture. It's looking more and more like they will go offensive tackle. Will Campbell is the guy that is brought up a lot with that. Now, I've talked about how I feel about Will Campbell. He has moved up on my board a little bit. I'll show you all real quick. He has moved up to number 20 something, no, 23 overall. And I can explain why. Again, the arm length is a worry for me if he has played tackle. Due to the fact that if you think about why arm length is so important, offenses, especially in the trenches, is important because in the trenches, you're not looking at a player from head to toe. You're looking at a player from their hip out wide to their hands, because that's how you tackle. That's how you get around offensive linemen. That's how you get the reach to block defensive linemen. It's all about your length. That's a huge part of it. Your hips and your length. How low your hips are, because that means you're able to get lower, and how wide your arms are, because that gives you more length. So if you don't have a good length as an offensive tackle, you're not going to be able to block quicker edge rushers. Now, you still might be able to if your feet movement is good enough and you're quick enough, but it's going to be a lot harder because you're not going to have the length to grab onto them. So the arm length is a real concern. Also, he gets beat inside a lot. So there are concerns there. And I don't know if he's going to work out as a tackle. And as a guard, all the public guard reps we have seen have not been good because of his stance issues. And his stance issues also is also part of why he gets beat inside. So there's some issues with Will Campbell. He's still a very good player. And if he doesn't work out as a tackle, I think he can be developed as a guard and become a very good guard. 1 second, my dog wants out of my room. All right, I'm back. But anyways, I still think he could become a very good guard. And when your team is looking for offensive line help for your young quarterback, you want to just take good players that you know are going to turn into good players, whether it's as a tackle or as a guard. And Will Campbell is one of those guys who is probably just going to turn into a darn good player. Most likely a guard, but it could be a tackle. You could develop him. But if he does turn into a really good player, it's probably going to be a guard. Now, I think I want to go a different route. As much as it looks like they're going to go off the line, I think you can grab a guy in the second round and get more value because you're going this player instead, which would be Ashton Jeanty. Now, this is very early, number 4 overall, but I think it's realistic. Mike Vrabel, he's going to want to run the ball, and you're not going to do that with that running back room that they have currently. Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. I love Antonio Gibson as a Washington fan. 2020 Antonio Gibson, I thought he was going to be so good. He was so good in 2020. I thought he was our future running back. The turf toe slowed him down. Anyways, he's not very good anymore. Ramondre Stevenson is not very good. He has that contract extension, but that was a past regime. I think they want a different running back. Now, you could go Quinshon Judkins at number 38 overall, but who knows if he'll be available? There are some teams who might draft running back in this spot. Quinshon Judkins could be a Brown. Quinshon Judkins could be a Raider if they don't go running back this early. So I want to play in the scenario that the Patriots are so high on Jeanty that they go him at number 4 overall, which is realistic. When you're drafting your running back early, it's all about what is your Super Bowl window? When do you think your team could compete for a Super Bowl? Now, the Patriots have sucked the past couple of years, but they are building a good team. Drake May is a really good quarterback. I think he's a future MVP in this league. You need to get weapons around that. They signed Stephon Diggs. Now, they're going to take a receiver on a day 2. I'm very confident in that. But the Patriots could be contending for Super Bowl in the next 1 to 3 years. So when you're drafting a running back early, you got to think, how many years until my team is going to compete for a Super Bowl? Because if your answer is the very earliest you're going to compete for a Super Bowl is in 4 years, 3 to 4 years, you shouldn't take a running back. But if you're in the Patriots situation where you got a young team, you're building a good team, you've got your franchise quarterback already, so you might be competing for a Super Bowl in the next 1 to 3 years. You can afford to take a running back this early. So I'm going to take Jeanty. I do think it's more realistic that they go Will Campbell. That's what the reports are saying. Or just offensive tackle. Maybe it's Armand Membu. But I'm going to take Jeanty. I'm playing my own little scenario. We're going to have a little fun with this. We're also going to have a little fun with this pick. Now, I think this is realistic. I don't know if it happens, but I think it is realistic. The Jaguars cut Evan Ingram. He signed with the Broncos. It was a shocking cut to me. I know it saved the money, but I didn't see it coming. There's a few different avenues they could go. They could go Teddy McMillan. Excuse me. He reminds me of Drake London, a little bit of Mike Evans. Maybe Liam Cohen wants to make him his Mike Evans. I don't think he'll go this high anymore. Maybe he wants to go Mason Graham. Mason Graham could be a lock in this pick. This is a shoe-in pick with Mason Graham. They need defensive interior. You know, the just a white interior defensive lineman. It's a beast, former wrestler that Mason Graham is. It makes sense in the Jaguars situation. This could be a shoe-in. Honestly, should go this. But I want to be a little fun. Be a little fun with this. Maybe they go corner. Will Johnson. I love Will Johnson. They need safety help. Maybe they go someone like Nick Imnori, who I'm very high on, or Malachi Starks, who's going to be a very good deep safety in the NFL. But I don't think they go any of those players. Well, I do think there's a good chance they go Mason Graham if he's available. But I'm going to have some fun and say they cut Evan Ingram and they go Tyler Warren. I'm very high on Tyler Warren as well. Let me switch my board back. I have him at number 7 on my board. He is nowhere near Brock Bowers. Let's not get too cute here. Let's not have some recency bias and think because Brock Bowers came out and he's already maybe the best tight end in the league that there's going to be another Brock Bowers in this draft. Tyler Warren is not Brock Bowers, but he's a very good tight end, and I think he will be top 5 to 10 in his rookie year. Again, you don't get that in free agency. Those tight ends do not become available. So you have to draft those tight ends and build them up yourself. I think Tyler Warren can be a top 5 to 10 in his rookie year. You got to replace Evan Ingram somehow. You need more weapons for Trevor Lawrence. You cut Christian Kirk. all you have there is Brian Thomas Jr. and Parker Washington, who I actually like, but more as like a third or fourth option. Probably fourth option. So I do love Tyler Warren to the Jaguars, and I'm going to take it. It's a little different, but let's be a little bit fun. Let's be a little bit different in this draft. Now, Raiders are number 6 overall. If Jeanty was here, I would say, yeah, let's Jeanty to the Raiders. Easy, shooing. Now, I do have Martin Hampton higher on my board than Jeanty. Just a little bit, just because of the fumbling issues that Jeanty had. 9 fumbles in 2 years. But I don't know if they go running back in this situation. And I'm going to say that don't go running back in this situation. There are good running backs that are going to be available on day 2. Maybe they trade up for one. Who knows? But in the Brown situation here, I'm going to say they get the final piece in their offensive line in Armand Membu. He's a beast. He fits right into the right tackle spot that they need. Solidifies the offensive line. You don't got to worry about offensive line. Again, with the Raiders, with running back. If you take Amar and Hampton, or if you take Jeanty in this situation, now I think that would be a good pick because Pete Carroll is going to want to have his running back. They're gonna want their bell cow running back, right? And that can be Jeanty or Amar and Hampton. However, one of the Raiders is going to compete for a Super Bowl. I think they're building a very decent squad, and they could be a playoff team this year. But I don't know if they're going to compete for a Super Bowl in the next 3 years. They could. They very well could because they're building a decent team. But I don't know. It's not a high likelihood at all. So instead of going to running back that you're going to get for 5 years, a 5-year prime, maybe 6 or 7 year prime, but that's less likely than a 5-year prime. Your Armand Membu, you're going to have for 10 to 15 years, and he's going to be great for those 10 to 15 years. So, take Membu, offensive line is solidified, complete, you're good there. Now, Jets on the clock at number 7 overall. Armand Membu would have been the pick for the Jets, but I decided I wanted to be a little bit different. Went Jeanty at number 4, and now Membu is a Raider. But that's all right because we have some different options we could go. We could go Mason Graham. I do not mind going that. I don't want to go edge because they've gone edge, 3 of the last 5 years in the first round. So I don't want to go edge. You could go at Hetero McMillan, who would be a very good complement to Garrett Wilson. You could go Mason Graham again, interior defensive line, slide next to Quentin Williams. Could go Will Campbell, but I don't know if he fits the offensive line quite like Armand Membu would. Maybe you go someone like Malachi Starks, play D safety for you. Maybe you go Will Johnson, slide him next to Sauce Gardner. Now, would there be any teams that would want to move up for a player right now? I think yes. Let's take a look. I think the 49ers could very well be knocking on the door right now to get an offensive lineman. So let's say they send up, 1175 and 147 for 7 and say 162. I think that's fair capital. So we'll send that through. And I think Will Campbell would be a player they would go after. If you look at their depth chart, you got Trent Williams there, but your offensive line is getting a little bit depleted, and Trent Williams is very old. He is not getting any younger. I think he's 38, 39 years old now. He's going to be out the door in a couple years, if not next year, right? So you need to solidify your offensive line for the future. So you can select a Will Campbell, and you can develop him at guard while Trent Williams is still playing, and then slide him over to left tackle once Trent Williams is done. So just have him at guard, develop him as a very good offensive lineman, and slide him to left tackle when Trent Williams is retired. If he doesn't work out there, that's fine. You just got yourself a very good guard. If he does work out there, awesome. You got your left tackle of the future. So I think Will Campbell would be a good selection. I think he would fit into that 49ers offensive line. I think Armand Membu would be the perfect fit for the offensive line because then you can just put him at right tackle right away, and you got your right tackle of the future. But Will Campbell, good consolation prize. Panthers here, number 8 overall. I'm not going to get cute here. I think it's honestly a lock already that they're going to go Jalen Walker. He just fits that defense so well. Fill that Frankie Oliver role. He can come off the edge if you need him to. And the Panthers need to get their linebacking core back to elite status. So Jalen Walker is a Panther. Saints here, number 9 overall. Tyler Warren would have been a shoo-in pick for me here, but he does not fall to them. So what are some things they could do? They could go an edge rusher. They definitely have a need there. Someone like a Michael Williams would really fit the Saints. High upside player. Injuries might have derailed his draft stock a little bit, but I think he will go in this range, like 9 to 25 overall, something like that. You could go Tedero McMillan to complement Chris Olave when he's healthy. If he's ever healthy again, he might need to retire. You could go Mason Graham. Beef up the interior. I don't know. Again, same thing with the kind of Super Bowl. When are you going to compete for Super Bowl? Saints is what, 4 years ago or 4 years away from maybe competing for the Super Bowl if you play everything perfect. So you don't want to go a running back. You don't want to go a Martin Hampton, even though he's amazing. You could go corner. This isn't talked about a lot with the Saints, but you really lost a lot of your cornerbacks. You lost Marshawn Lattimore last season via trade. You lost Paulson Adebo in free agency. So who do you really have left? You know? You only got a couple guys left, and do you really have a true number 1 boundary corner? No. And Will Johnson, he has the injury issues, the injury concern. He's not the most athletic guy, but I think he's one of the best players in this class. And I do have the exclamation point next to him on my board because of the injury concern. He has a season-ending injury, but I think he will be fine. He's just all around an amazing corner. I think he's going to be a lockdown corner in the NFL. And I think he could be the Saints' future number 1 cornerback on the boundary to be that Marshawn Lattimore replacement. So let's go and select him to the Saints to be their future lockdown CB1. Bears number 10 overall. I'm going to make the same pick. I'll be a little shocked here, but Ryan Hampton is on the board. Number 5 on my board. Ben Johnson is going to want his running back. Bears are good. They're a really good team now. They've filled like all their holes pretty much. They still need edge rusher. They still need maybe defensive interior and a little bit of DB help. But if they get a running back here, a guy like Hampton, who I think is going to be a 1,200, 1,300 yard rusher as a rookie, maybe even better with Ben Johnson calling the plays, your offense is really complete. Like seriously, your offensive line is good now. If you're drafting offensive line, it's just for down the line, not this year. So take running back. Fill the only hole you have for this season on the offense. And your offense is good to go. The Bears can compete for a Super Bowl this season, I think. So, yeah, go running back. Because that running back room sucks. DeAndre Swift should not be your starting running back. He's not a starting running back in the NFL. So, yeah, go Hampton. Jets here, number 11 overall. A few different routes you can go. Mason Graham is still available. That would be a great pick. Malachi Starks. Could go him to play deep safety. Looking at tackle, you could go Josh Simmons. You could go Kelvin Banks. Those are guys who could be picked in this range. I love Josh Simmons. He does have the injury concern, but I think he's already been cleared for his rookie season. I think he's going to be fine. He'll probably drop a little bit in the draft due to the injury. Maybe to the 20s here, the late teens, but he could very well go in this spot. I think it would be a good pick. But I think I like the idea of going Tedero McMillan, having him be the complement to Garrett Wilson. Although he has dropped on my board, he is down to, I believe, let me see. Yeah, 27 over on my board now. That's wide receiver 4 on my board. Him and Luther Burden are very close. I just think he has major bust potential. His arm length does scare me a little bit because he's purely a physical receiver. And you got to have a little bit longer arms if you're going to be a big physical receiver in the NFL. But I still think he's a good player. I just think he has major bust potential. But I think he would complement Garrett Wilson really good and be a fine number 2 option in that offense. So I like the idea of sending Tedero McMillan to the Jets. Maybe there's a chance Justin Fields breaks out. There's a lot of talk of Sure Sanders going to the Jets, and I could see it if they trade down a little bit. I also see a number 7 overall, but I didn't do it just because it kind of disgusts me. I don't think Sure Sanders is near good enough to go in that spot. But if you are going to take a swing at a quarterback, as long as it's outside of like the top 5, that's when you want to take your swings. And Justin Fields on his contract is not going to shy you away from doing that. But I'm going to go ahead and have him take Tyrone McMillan here. Cowboys here, number 12 overall. A lot of good players are dropping. I don't think you need defensive interior. So even though Mason Graham has dropped here, you don't need to go him. Jada Barron, that's a really good fit in that defense. You lost Jordan Lewis to the Jaguars. So you need a nickel cornerback, and nickel cornerback is more and more valuable in the NFL. Jada Barron is not going to slide to the boundary very much, maybe a little bit. He's mainly going to be a nickel for you. Maybe play a little bit of safety. But that would be a great fit. You could go edge to pair with Micah Parsons. I don't know if you go anyone this high. Maybe Shamar Stewart to be that developmental edge rusher. He's just such a Cowboy pick. Mike Green was off the field concerns. But no, I don't think I'm going to go edge here. Running back. There's no running back good enough to go here. You could go receiver. Even though he's not super high on my board, I could see him going someone like Matthew Golden. Maybe Emeka Buka is a pick here. Is there anybody who a team would trade up for here? And I think there's multiple players a team would trade up for here. Specifically Mason Graham, who is still available. I usually don't have him drop like this. So what's a team that would want Mason Graham? And I see one that clearly needs defensive interior help right now. That's the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't think it would take that much to trade up here. You don't have a lot of picks, so you don't want to trade too much. But let's say 16 and 78 for 12 and 174. And you also throw in 225. Yeah, let's say you throw in 225 and you get 247 back. So it's just multiple trade downs and trade ups in the draft. I don't think the Cowboys are supposed to have this pick, and they're supposed to gain a pick from the Patriots. I don't know if PFF has already updated this, and I'm wrong on the exact compensation. Maybe I think Cowboys did have 171, so maybe it was 171 that they lost, and they gained one of these here. With the Joe Milton trade that went down today, it was Joe Milton and a 7th for a 5th round pick. So maybe 171 was a compensatory 5th round pick that they gave up, and not 149. Just to get a little off topic, talk about that Joe Milton trade a little bit. People were freaking out like the Cowboys fleeced the Patriots. They didn't. Joe Milton is not that good. He's 25 and inaccurate. He's got a crazy arm talent. He had maybe the best cannon in the class last season, but he's inaccurate. He can't make good decisions on the field. He's reckless, and him carving up the Bills' third and second stringers last season in the last week of the regular season does not move me. He has upside to be a good backup in the league, but he also might just be a middling to low tier backup in the league. Um, Trading a fifth round pick for at best a quarterback two, and then getting a seventh back, that's just a fine trade. Um, Honestly, I don't know if I would have done it if I was Jerry Jones. I mean, if you're Jerry Jones, you traded a fifth round pick for a quarterback two or quarterback three, and a fourth round pick for a wide receiver four, Jonathan Mingo, in a draft class where, or in a draft where you really needed to capitalize on your picks and have a good draft. So Jerry Jones is in Jerry's world as always. So it's not a fleece for the Cowboys. They got a quarterback, a backup quarterback that has upside to be a good backup, not a starter. So he might work out as a good backup. He might just suck because again, he's 25. He's inaccurate. He's reckless. He doesn't make good decisions. He just has a cannon. So, but let's send that through. Got a little off topic there. Some Mason Graham to the Cardinals. This would be a home run pick at number 12 overall. That's great value for the Cardinals because I do think he's going to go top 10. Just, this is a live draft, right? So he slipped a little bit. Dolphins here at number 13 overall. All right, we are back. I had to take a little break. My buddy texted me and asked me to play some pickleball, so I was gone for a few hours, but we're back, and we are back on the clock with the Miami Dolphins. So, a few different routes we could go here. A lot of times I go Jeanty Barron here, just because they need DB all over the board. They need a nickel. And Jeanty Barron, although he's not going to be able to slide out to the boundary too often, he can here and there. And he can play a little bit of safety, but he's going to be mainly a nickel. Now, they lost Javon Holland in the offseason. I personally would have re-signed him, but they did not. So, you could go Malachi Starks to replace him. That would be a perfect replacement because Malachi Starks is purely going to be a deep safety. You could go interior defensive line, someone like Kenneth Grant. I personally wouldn't here though. You could go offensive line. Josh Simmons would be a good pick here. Kelvin Banks, because you can play him at tackle. He proved that he is going to be more of a tackle at the combine and with his measurements. But he can slide in the guard if you need him to. So those would be good picks there too. You could even go receiver because Tyreek Hill does look like he is on his way out of Miami. I'm not sure if he's going to play there this season. He very well could, but I'm not sure if he will. So Matthew Golden would be perfect for this offense with his 4.29 speed. Or if you want a different type of receiver, you could go someone like Emeka Buka. But I like the idea of going Malachi Starks to replace Javon Holland, even though you should have just re-signed him anyways, especially the contract he got. I think he only got like 12 mil per year, something like that. But let's bring Malachi Starks to the Miami Dolphins. Colts here, number 14 overall. If Tyler Warren was still here, this would be a slam dunk Tyler Warren pick, but he is not still here. But they do have a lot of holes. Tyler Booker could be in consideration here, but I don't think they should take him here. Jod Gamble would make sense here. Nicky Munwari, I think would be a great pick here. I love him, number 13 on my board. He's such a athletic freak at his size. His tape is great. He's such a good run defender. he could be a good pick there. Um, I wouldn't go edge. You've gone edge too often. And I'm a fan of Latu Latu. He was one of my favorite players out of the class last season. I think he will develop into a good player. Um, but I think the route I'm actually going to go is interior defensive line because you need someone next to DeForest Buckner. And I think Kenneth Grant would be a good fit next to DeForest Buckner. I'm not high on Kenneth Grant at all. I think I have him down at 30 on my board. Let's see, 33 on my board. So I'm not very high on him, but I do think he would be a good fit next to DeForest Buckner, and being next to DeForest Buckner would help him out. I think it would help him develop. They complement each other well because Buckner, more of a pass rusher and defensive tackle. Grant can be a good run defender. And although I think he has high bust potential, he also has high upside potential. At his very best, he's Dexter Lawrence. And that's obviously amazing. And I think Buckner being next to him will help him develop a lot better. So let's go ahead and bring Kenneth Grant to the Indianapolis Colts. Falcons here, number 15 overall. I think you have to go edge rusher here. One of the worst, I think they actually were statistically the worst pass rusher team in the NFL last season. So I think you should go pass rusher, and a few different routes you can go. Micah Williams would be a good pick here. I wouldn't go Shamar Stewart in your case. Donovan Ezraku would just be a safe pick that you know you're going to get a good edge rusher out of. Mike Green would be the upside pick here. He does have the off-the-field concerns, and I'm not too sure about him. He is number 40-something on my board. I do like him. I do. Yeah, he's not even in the picture here yet. I don't have a picture of past 40, but he is, I think, 47 on my board. He is a good player. I do like him. He's an athletic freak. Super quick. But I do fear that he's a little bit too much of a one-trick pony, just a speed rush guy. But he does have good counter moves, and he can refine his game in the NFL. And I think if you're the Falcons, you want to go for upside. So I think Mike Green would be a good pick here, although I do think he could fall. But I think he fits into this defense really well. So let's go and send Mike Green to Atlanta. Cowboys here, number 16 overall, after trading back from number 12 overall. And I think the perfect player for their defense fell. I'm just not even going to talk about anything else. I'm going to go Jahdae Barron. You lost Jordan Lewis to the Jaguars. So draft Jahdae Barron and replace your nickel spot immediately. So that's a perfect fit there. Bengals here, number 17 overall. Tyler Booker, still available. You could go him to beef up that interior. Because you need interior. You have your tackle set, I think. Could go Gray Zabel. Move him to guard. That's an option. But I want to go on the defensive line. Trey Henderson could sit out this season, or you could re-sign him and he plays, or you could trade him. Either way, you need defense and you need more edge rushers. So I think you should go with Donovan Ezraku would be a good pick. I'm between Donovan Ezraku and Michael Williams. And I think Michael Williams would be the better pick. Injuries kind of made his stock lower than it should be, I think. I think he is a very good player. I think his film is very good. I think he improves a lot this season. And I think he's a high upside player, but I think he's also safer than some people think. So I'm going to go him, pair him with Trey Henderson, or if Trey Henderson just sits out or gets traded, you have your guy now, edge rusher. So I like that for the Bengals. Seahawks number 18 overall. I like to go Nick Eamon-Ward a lot here. I'm going to change it up a little bit. But Nick Eamon-Ward, I think, would be a perfect fit for this defense. And then you have Mike McDonald kind of get his guy at safety. I do think that's a very good chance to go defense here, so that Mike McDonald gets his guy, gets his Kyle Hamilton, if you will. But I'm gonna go a different route. They need offensive line help really bad, mainly in the interior. But I like the idea of going Grace Abel here because Abel Lucas, the right tackle, he has a lot of injury concerns. So Grace Abel does have some history at right tackle. You look, he played left tackle last season, but he did play right tackle the year before. So you could go Grace Abel, and you could move him to guard, but if you need him to, you can slide out to right tackle. And then if Abe Lucas is injured, and he will be because he's had injury concerns, he's had injuries his whole NFL career. So you can slide him out to right tackle when Abe Lucas is injured, but you can primarily play him at right guard, and I think he's going to really excel at that guard position. Huge fan of Grace Abel, number 10 on my board. I love him. Physical guy. Let's go him. Number 19 overall, Buccaneers. You got to go defense here. And you could go corner. I like Azariah Thomas. I'm not sure if he'll go here, though. But I do like him. I think that would be a good pick. You could go Jahad Campbell. I would love Jahad Campbell to the Buccaneers. I think that would be a great pick. There's a few different routes you could go. I do think edge is a big need, and I think Donovan Ezeraku would be a perfect fit for the defense. Same thing with James Pierce, but I think he's going to fall out of the first round because there's a lot of character concerns with him. Team chemistry is a real thing in sports, especially in the NFL. And if you have a guy that coaches don't like, teammates don't like how it was in at Tennessee, and I mean he got put on snap counts, and people have been asked from Tennessee questions about him, and they said things like, we're supposed to be practicing, and he might be at his apartment. We don't know where he is. So you can't trust him to show up to practice. Teammates don't like him. They said they wouldn't bring him to the NFL with them. So that's a problem. He's a very talented player. Number 11 on my board, but I might have to drop him because of these character concerns. He's a very good player, and I think the Bucs would be fine with taking a smaller edge rusher, and that's what James Pierce is. Now, even though he's a smaller edge rusher, I don't think that matters because he's still a good run defender. But so I really want to take him here because I think this would be a great pick talent-wise. But I think he's going to fall out of the first round because of the character concerns. You see it all the time in drafts. If there's character concerns from coaches, they slip. Coaches don't want to deal with the headache. So we're going to pass on James Pierce. I think Donovan Ezeraku would be a really good pick here. But I also love the idea of bringing in Jahad Campbell to be a linebacker for them. Linebacker with the ability to come off the edge. Very athletic guy. I like that idea. Let's go ahead and send him to the Bucs. Broncos here, number 20 overall. A few different routes you could go. If Martin Hampton would be here, was here, you would turn that card, run it to the podium, and then you got the perfect fit for your offense. We already talked about how much I love Hampton. You could go defensive line here. Derek Harmon, Darius Alexander would be a good pick here, I think. But I want to go receiver. And you have Cortland Sutton there. You have Marvin Mims. But I think you need Cortland Sutton is the one in that offense, but I think you need someone that can be the second option in that offense and eventually surpass Cortland Sutton. And you have Evan Ingram there too now. Um, and I like the idea of sending Emeka Buka to Denver. He's going to be your primary slot guy, but he can play on the outside if you need him to. He's my wide receiver one in this class. He's just a definition of reliable. You see it. I love Emeka Buka. Let's go ahead and send him to Denver. Steelers here, number 21 overall. There's been a lot of buzz about them going quarterback in the first round, and I just think it makes sense. I think it makes sense for them to go quarterback. You're at number 21 overall here. So I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to work out in the NFL. But if you think there's a chance he works out, this is when you take your swing. Because you're probably going to have to go in late first round. If you wait until the second, he's not going to fall to your second round pick at... I forgot, they don't even have a second round pick because they traded for DK Metcalf. So you have to take him here. You can't... I mean, you could try and trade into the early second or late first, but that's going to be expensive, and I don't think that's going to be worth it. So just take Shedeur Sanders here. This is where you need to take your swings at quarterbacks that you think have the possibility of succeeding. And you need to prove that you're not just the same old Steelers. If you're Mike Tomlin, you probably need to do the savior job, because Mike Tomlin is probably the most overrated coach in the NFL right now. He's a good coach, don't get me wrong, but the Steelers are the definition of mediocrity because they always take the safe pick. They never sell out to try and improve their roster. And it's why they're a first round pick or a first round exit every single year, or they barely miss out on the playoffs. They're stuck in purgatory, and that's the worst place to be in the NFL. So even if they sign Aaron Rodgers, they'd probably go Sanders still. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in Shedeur Sanders to the Steelers. It makes sense. This is where you take your swings at quarterbacks. So Sanders to Pittsburgh. Sorry, dogs are going crazy. Had to go shut them up. They're still barking outside. But Chargers here, number 22 overall. With the way the board has fallen, I think there's a clear pick. I mean, you could go receiver, but Loud McConkey is going to be in your slot. He's more of like a dominant slot guy. He's still going to be your number one option by far. Loud McConkey, he's so good. He's, I think, already a top 20 receiver in the NFL. You could have him borderline top 10, and I wouldn't be mad at you. But so I don't think you'll lose a burden here. Matthew Golden could be a guy here. As much as I like Jack Besh, I don't think he goes as high. So Matthew Golden could be the pick here, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go the chalk pick. I'm gonna go Colston Loveland. He pairs back with Jim Harbaugh. They need a tight end. Jim Harbaugh wants to have his tight end. And why am I blanking on his name? Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Jeez, their tight end. He's a hillbilly dude. I know who he is. Why am I blanking on his name? Tight end. They signed Will Disley. That's what I'm thinking of. Will Disley. And they signed Tyler Conklin. I forgot about that too. But Tyler Conklin is actually a decent tight end. So is Will Disley. I do like Will Disley, but he shouldn't be your number one guy at tight end. And Colston Loveland, that's Jim Harbaugh's guy. So let's go ahead and send him there. Fill that need. And now you have really your number two option after Ladd McConkey in that offense. Packers here, number 23 overall. Edge rusher is something they would do. I don't think they should go edge rusher, but I think that was more of a coaching problem and they fired their defensive line coach. But you still could go edge rusher, and it wouldn't be the worst idea. But I don't think you should. I think you have more pressing needs. I think cornerback is a very pressing need. You are going to be moving on from Jerry Alexander. So cornerback, I like going Azariah Thomas here. I think that would be a good pick. But I think receiver is your biggest need, and Josh Jacobs wasn't lying this offseason when he said we need a true number one receiver. I think it was Dontavian Wicks that replied to that and didn't like it. But sorry, it's the truth, man. Truth hurts. And I want to go Matthew Golden on this team. I would like Jack Besh on this team, but I think Luther Burden makes a lot of sense. Jaden Reed is their primary slot guy, but they can move stuff around and get Luther Burden in the slot. And I just think he's the best receiver on the board. Well, actually, I think Jack Besh is, but again, I don't know if he goes this high. So I think in that scenario, Burden would be. So let's go ahead and send Luther Burden to the Packers. Vikings here, number 24 overall. There's a lot of players that make sense for them here, and I'm looking at their pick situation. It's so ugly. They only have 4 picks. They don't have a second round pick. Their third round pick is a compensatory. So I think it would benefit them a lot to trade down here. And there's a lot of good tackles left here. So I think there would be teams wanting to move up for one of those tackles. So what's a team here that needs a tackle? The Rams could jump the Texans, but you're not going to add that much draft capital there. You might add 2 really late day 3 picks, which, you need that. But I'm looking at the Chiefs as a team that needs a tackle that you could actually acquire some draft capital from. So I would say something like 31, 95, and let's send 2 day 3 picks. And you'll lose your 7th round pick next year. I think that's fair capital. Yeah, well, I don't know if they would actually send 95. I think it might actually be more like this. Yeah, we'll do that. If you really want to send 95 and switch 130 to 95, that's understandable. You can do that. But I'm going to do this. You get 2 more day 3 picks. Or, I'm sorry, 3 more day 3 picks. You get a 4th rounder. You get 2 7s. And you just move back 7 spots. You're going to still get the guy you want, I think. So, let's go and lock that in. And then I think the guy the Chiefs would go for here is Josh Simmons. I love him. He has an injury concern, but I think he's going to be just fine. You slide him in at left tackle there to be your guy for the future, for the next 10 to 15 years. And Chiefs need tackle help desperately. So I like that spot for the Chiefs. Texans here, number 25 overall. I think you got to go off in the line. You traded Laremy Tunsil for no reason, in my opinion. I mean, the only concern with that guy is false starts. So why are you trading him? You got to go off in the line, and I think Kelvin Banks should be the guy here. You can play him at tackle. You can play him you move him to guard if you want to. You just play him all over. So, and you need help all over the offensive line. CJ Stroud, I'm scared for him. He's such a good quarterback, but he gets slept on because he has a horrible offensive line, and he did not have good weapons last season. So, let's send Kelvin Banks to the Texans, number 25 overall. Ramsey, number 26 overall. I think if Colson Loveland was still here, I would go him. They have their defensive line pretty set. You could go corner. But I like to even go and tackle again here. And Josh Connolly is available. And I would love to go him here. You look at their depth chart. Their offensive line situation is just not very good. They need help all over the offensive line. So, yeah, I like going Josh Connerly here. Had a little run on tackles there. Ravens re-signed Ronnie Staley, so they don't need to go tackle. Um, they need interior help, so Tyler Booker is a possibility here. You need cornerback help, but you want a cornerback last first round, or in the first round of last year's draft. So, and Nate Wiggins. So, I don't know if you go cornerback this early. I think edge would make the most sense. And if you look at DaCosta, who would fit his defense the best, he likes those developmental guys. He wants to develop them. And Shamar Stewart makes total sense for that. Shamar Stewart is not my favorite guy. I think he's 41 on my board. He's a good player, but he was not consistently good on tape. It was really his offseason progression that put him into this first round range. And, the first round progression or the offseason progression is really promising. I like it. I think it's good. I don't know if he should go in the first round. Now, if he goes anywhere, I would want him to go to the Ravens or Commanders because that's going to be probably his two best chances to develop into his maximum potential player. And at his maximum potential, he's going to be a very good player in the NFL. So let's send him to the Ravens, and he gets to go to one of the best scenarios for him. Lions here, number 28 overall. There's several different routes you can go here. Tyler Booker is available still. I really like him. They need interior help bad. So I like the idea of going Tyler Booker here. And you would snipe the Commanders because the Commanders need guard help. It's really the last piece of the offensive line they need. Dan Quinn said yesterday that their plan with Brandon Coleman is, now that they have Larry Tunsil, I figured they would just slide Brandon Coleman to left guard, but they're going to try him at right tackle. And then have Andrew Wiley slide to right guard until Sam Cosmi is healthy. So Nick Allegretti will still be the starter for the Commanders this season. I don't like that as a Commanders fan. Nick Allegretti being our starter, that is. He's not very good. So I would love Tyler Booker to the Commanders. That would be, if he's there, number 29 overall, I would love to draft him. But so you could snipe the Commanders there. But you also really need edge rusher. You're kind of exposed in the divisional round. You didn't have Aiden Hutchinson, and you struggled against a very bad offensive line against the Commanders in the divisional round last season. So maybe you're looking at the team that's coming after, that's picking after you, and saying, "Man, we need edge rushing help because without Aiden Hutchinson, we were done in the playoffs last season." So I think Donovan Ezraku would make a lot of sense for the Lions. You compare him with Aiden Hutchinson and have a very good edge rushing duo, and you know almost for sure that Donovan Ezraku isn't going to turn into a good player in the NFL. Again, he's just a safe pick. So I'm really in between Tyler Booker and Donovan Ezraku here. I think I'm going to go Tyler Booker because you look at the identity of the Lions, and it's really their run game, right? So, and a lot of that is based off of their offensive line being so good. So you want to solidify that offensive line. And Tyler Booker is more so going to be a gap scheme guy. So let's go and send Tyler Booker to the Lions. He can play guard for them. He's just the definition of reliable. I love Tyler Booker, number 12 on my board. So that's something to Detroit. Help solidify the offensive line because the run game is the identity of that team. So that leaves the Commanders here, number 29 overall. Kind of already said what I'd do. I think Donovan Ezraku would be the pick. Donovan Ezraku or Nick Gordon. I like both of these guys a lot. I also like Brandon Swinson. I don't know if he goes this early, though. I think he's more of an early to mid second round guy. But Donovan Ezraku, you know, Dan Quinn is probably the best in the league at getting the most out of his edge rushers. And so Donovan Ezraku is already a safe pick. So you know he's almost for sure going to be good. Well, not almost for sure, but most likely going to be good in the NFL. But you can take Dan Quinn and get a full potential Donovan Ezraku out of him. And he's not only a safe player, but he's a home run player. So let's take Donovan Ezraku here. Because the Commanders need edge help so bad. I mean, that is their biggest need, in my opinion. Offensive line is still up there. I think edge rusher, offensive line, so left guard, really. Because Andrew Riley sucks, but he'll probably be a better right guard. And then Sam Cosmo will be back. Probably, I don't know when, but hopefully earlier in the season. But so left guard really is your biggest need on the offensive line. Hopefully Brandon Coleman works out at right tackle. But if he doesn't, you could just send him over to left guard. And then you got to figure out right tackle still in that scenario. Because Andrew Wiley still sucks. But we can go off the line later in the draft. I think edge makes the most sense in the first round. It is your most pressing need. If Martin Hampton somehow fall here, I would go him. But he's not gonna fall number 29 overall. So yeah, top three needs are edge, guard, and running back. So edge, I think, is the most pressing of those needs. So let's go Donovan Ezraku. Number 30 overall, Buffalo Bills. You could go edge. You could go Nick Gordon. You also need DB help really bad. So Azariah Thomas is my favorite cornerback left. Again, Benjamin Morrison is a number 8 overall, but I just need to drop him. I think he's gonna fall out of the first because he has the major injury concerns. So he's definitely gonna fall out of the first. I would not take him here. So Azariah Thomas would be the guy for me here. But I mean, if you're the Bills, I mean, there's Nick Emenwari here, and you do not have a really good safety on that team. Honestly, you're lacking safety. You're starting Damar Hamlin, who actually improved a lot last season, but I still don't think he's a starter in the NFL. And I think Nick Emenwari is so good, so good. So let's go and send him to Buffalo to be your elite safety. And if you're the Vikings, you're a little bit pissed off there because I was probably going to go Nick Emenwari at number 24 overall. I was between Nick Emenwari or Tyler Booker. So you traded back, so now you missed out on Nick Emenwari, which sucks. But you got a lot more picks now. You're really lacking picks. That looks a lot better. It was really ugly with just those 31, 97, 139, and 187. That was ugly. Now you have a lot more picks to fill out your roster. But the Vikings are a very good team. They don't have that many holes. But one of their big holes is cornerback. I'm not worried about running back anymore. You got Aaron Jones and you got Jordan Mason to be your 1B. So you need depth, but worry about that later. I think I'd go corner here since Nick Emenwari is gone. And again, Azariah Thomas I think would be the next guy to go. Maybe Maxwell Harrison because the off the field issues are, I think that case that was open for him got closed. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. Maybe he goes, but I would rather go Azariah Thomas. All of their corners are under 6 foot. You want a bigger corner, and Azariah Thomas, 6'2", 198. He would be the biggest corner on their roster, on their starting group, and they need a boundary guy more than anything. So let's go ahead and send Azariah Thomas to the Vikings again. Nick Eamon would have been perfect, but they got sniped from the Bills. This is a live draft, so I have an idea of what I'm gonna do, but I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do. So stuff like that just happens. Sometimes I snipe myself. Eagles here, number 32 overall. I mean, it would make a lot of sense for them to get James Pierce. They seem to steal those type of players all the time that have character concerns. They somehow get them right, and they turn into really good players from him. But I'm not going to go James Pierce here. I'm going to go someone they brought in on a top 30 visit. They need guard, and that is Donovan Jackson. I think Donovan Jackson can play tackle in the NFL, but I think there's also a very good chance he slides into the interior and just turns into an absolute monster guard. And I think the Eagles will develop him really well. So let's go ahead and go Donovan Jackson. Again, brought him in on a top 30 visit. Makes a lot of sense. So that's the first round. We will be doing, then our next video will be rounds 2 and 3. And again, I will be working on a top 10 to 15 quarterback video and a top 20 to 30 receiver video, top 10 to 15 running back video. Same with edges. Those are going to be my 4 positions I go first, or safety. So those are probably my first 5 positional videos, and hopefully I'm going to get all 5 of them out next week. But yeah, so we'll have rounds 2 and 3 out tomorrow. So we'll see you then.